Okay, this is the fourth of hundreds of articles serving others as an international consultant on economic and government choices. This one is about the bank's unsigned documentation and refusing to send all the signed documentation. When you go to fileevidence.com on Exhibit 4, you'll see the bank's very suspicious unsigned promissory notes. Now, when a bank refuses to give you signed promissory notes, this is a red flag that something is very, very wrong. And of course, this is yet more suspected felonies during the bankruptcy procedures. And from March 2015 through December the 6th, 2018, the bank flat out refused to send me or my legal counsel all the questionable loan documentations, because now they're under suspicion of everything. And some of the signatures didn't look right, so I had a forensic examiner examine for authenticity and signature verification. And yet, the bank still, to this day, refuses to send my loan documents, signed ones. Now, by federal law, the standing trustee in bankruptcy court is supposed to send all suspected felonies to the United States Attorney. And the standing trustee, when all of this was filed with the court, the standing trustee, when he knows of this civil fraud, he's supposed to turn these matters over to the United States trustee. Now, which part he didn't suspect on all of this that was done is beyond me. And remember, the update, I did run this through the Supreme Court, and the clerk found no controversies on these unsigned documents and more. Now, when you go to fileevidence.com, the letter to the law reporters of these new case law changes, that in spite of the file evidence and in direct defiance of our current laws, all of the courts involved preferred the absolute powerful's agenda. Of course, constitutionally, we're all created equal. So, now anyone who's going through government confiscation of assets and more can do it via unsigned documents. Now, anyone who is going through government confiscation of assets, minor years, they can simply refuse to give all the documentations to you and or your legal representation, or legal counsel. So, since this has gone through all the courts of law who endorse these new case law changes, this new case law can be quoted to any judge, jury, and or with any courts of law from this day forward. Now, if you're a past felon from doing these like-kind convicted offenses and you're in prison, this should be your get-out-of-jail-free card when you bring up these new case law changes in any court of law. And under present like-kind felons, any district attorney is going to have a hard time prosecuting felons because of these new case law changes. Constitutionally, we're all created equal. And this justification of new case law, quoting new case law changes, allows all future felons unsustainable, short-term, ill-gotten gains. Now, under international consulting of economic and government choices, these types of new case law changes are really the epitome and the very worst economic and government choices you could ever make to intentionally destroy your own nation's investors' sustainable long-term investments. And all investors are entitled to be warned of these new case law changes. Now, our U.S. constitutional founding father, Thomas Jefferson, quote, "I was bold in the pursuit of knowledge, never fearing to follow truth and reason to whatever results they led, and bearing every authority which stood in their way." Now, our founding fathers' first amendment of the Constitution is the freedom of speech and the freedom of press. And being from west of Amarillo, Texas, years ago there was a newspaper owner named Gene Howe. And he engraved in stone on his Amarillo newspaper building, above a doorway, it was engraved in stone, and I'm pretty sure it was on the outside of the building. A newspaper may be forgiven for the lack of wisdom, but never for the lack of courage. Our U.S. military oath: "I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic." Now, in the spirit of the Constitution, and to honor those who fought and or died for our constitutional rights and freedoms, I remember when I was just a kid and my dad fought in Okinawa in one of the worst battles ever known. And when his Marine buddies would come out to the farm and visit, about 11 o'clock every night, while they were smoking cigarettes and drinking whiskey like any World War II vet would do, about 11 o'clock every night, they would say, "Well, I'll tell you one thing. We didn't vow for some politician when we joined the military. We vowed," and they would always repeat this, "I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic." Now, that stuck with me, and listening to all those Marine ballads and stuff, and the people that died and fought, it was very honorable of them, but very sad that any people who now take their oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution also take it so lightly and abuse their position. So the very least I can do is at least have the courage to continue to publish my public service announcements, because each and every count and each and every violation of law that is now new case law changes, this now affects all Americans. It affects all international investors, and it affects all domestic and international markets. So the very least I can do is have the courage to publish these public service announcements.